UvaldeRadio.net. Hey, it's Robert McGill. Good afternoon. Happy National Watermelon Day to you. We are live at the Briscoe-Garner Museum, located at 333 North Park Street, part of our 2022 Watermelon Crawl. We've done this a few years. Well, we missed a pandemic year or two in there. But basically, go around town, your chance at free watermelon at participating locations. Those locations do include here at the Briscoe-Garner Museum. Also, Edwards Furniture, which we spent a good portion of our morning at there. Also, the Back Ranch Bunkhouse, downtown Uvalde's newest Western wear location on North Getty Street. Also, Southern Lace Marketplace, a beautiful boutique in downtown Uvalde. And on the east side of town, Tree City Tea and Water, which we're going to be there this afternoon at 2 o'clock with the Texas Watermelon Queen. And as luck would have it, all the way from East Texas, or wherever she came from here recently, I've got the Watermelon Queen, Olivia, is it Johnson?
Johnson.
Olivia Johnson here. Everybody make some noise if you're in the room. It's just me. It's just me and the Texas ghosts here. Oh, there's a couple woos downstairs. So we're upstairs at the Briscoe-Garner Museum. Welcome to Uvalde. How are you doing, Olivia?
Thank you. I'm doing good. I'm so happy to be here today.
So now you were Edwards Furniture. You're now here at the Briscoe-Garner Museum. You met a little bit of our Uvalde kind of general public here. I'm assuming this is probably your first time in Uvalde?
This is my first time in Uvalde for sure. I drove in. It was actually 9 hours from East Texas.
Wow.
So it was quite a journey, but so far it's been great, and I can't wait to go to our next location.
I love the East Texan accent you got going on there.
Yes.
It's great radio, so yeah.
Yes. I actually happen to be the daughter of a sixth-generation farmer, so that probably helps the accent a little bit.
Well, it's interesting. So first of all, most people probably don't know there is a watermelon queen of Texas or any other place, but we're going to talk all about that. But you look like royalty. You're absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
You're stunning. I know it's radio, so I'm not trying to be creepy, but you're just beautiful. I mean, so everybody needs to go find Texas Watermelon Queen on Facebook or find the Texas Watermelon Association website page, and there's a big old photo of you there.
Yes, the Texas Watermelon Queen has a Facebook, Instagram, and for the kiddos out there, we also have a TikTok.
Oh my lordy, TikTok! That's a whole big old can of worms right there. So it's an honor to have you here in Uvalde, and on the biggest watermelon day in the world, National Watermelon Day, right?
Yes, sir.
So we appreciate you guys coming out here for our event. So what was the drive-in like? First of all, it's hot. Was it day driving or evening travel for you?
It was definitely hot. I go to Texas A&M, so I stopped there, drove half the way, so I got to see piney woods and trees the first half, and then the further out I get, the less trees and the hotter it gets.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, we are Tree City, USA, so you've seen some of the beautiful trees here at the Briscoe-Garner Museum, this area where we got trees in the middle of the road. Now, I'm sure you've been to a lot of small towns in Texas, right?
Yes, sir.
So have you seen trees in the road at a lot of other places too, or are we one of the few?
It is definitely rare. I've
Yeah.
seen the most here. There's actually one right down the street from here, right in the middle. It's a beautiful tree, but it is in the middle of the road.
The city's story is that they want to preserve nature. I think they're just lazy. But we're really proud of our trees. Again, we're one of the designated Tree City USA. So what else has been your, I guess, impression of Uvalde so far? I know that we're big in the news right now, and it's kind of a weird thing, but we're much more than the tragedy that happened, I think.
My first impression, I was honestly a little nervous about coming just with the scenario and what's all about it. All you can do is grieve and feel for the people who felt this. You know, you see stuff on social media, but here you are in this town. You're around people who were here when it happened, who knew those kids, whose family. So it's intense, but these people, they're smiling, they're happy, they're trying to move on, they're trying to give their town a different name, that they don't want that one event to characterize them for years to come.
Well said. Very good. Well, we appreciate you coming in and shaking hands and taking photos. So what's your, first of all, let's just talk about this. I had the pleasure of seeing you do your royal duties of, hanging out, kissing babies, taking photos and whatnot. How much of that is for you comes natural? How much of it's really hard work? Are you a natural people person?
I'm definitely a natural people person. So being a sixth-generation farmer's daughter, I have worked and sold produce since I was 5 years old. So I'm so used to talking to everybody, and I'm talking about watermelon. So why would I not be passionate and open to tell everyone everything I know? If I have to have a kid, hand them a sticker and a coloring page and get them to talk to me, that just makes my day better by teaching someone about watermelon.
We were joking about this earlier, but I think any parent who's got maybe a small business or even a larger business that has small, cute kids, that's what we do, man. We prop them up on the front lines and like, hey, buy this, man, and it works, And
everyone goes crazy over babies.
I can only imagine how cute dude you were when you were little, because you're absolutely beautiful now. But I mean, as a little girl, oh my gosh, I bet you just sold those things like hotcakes,
I have
right?
pictures from birth with watermelons. So
That's
from
insane.
birth to 21, I have pictures with watermelons.
So that is a great opportunity for let's talk about your history in agriculture and farming and whatnot. Again, we've got Olivia Johnson, right? Is that the
Yes, sir.
Olivia, I gotta remember that. Olivia Johnson here, the Texas Watermelon Queen. Before we talk about how you, I guess, earned your crown, let's go and just talk about your upbringing and your history in farming and all that agricultural stuff.
Okay, so my dad is a 6th generation farmer, so we have 2 locations in my hometown of Center, Texas. We probably have a total of 75 acres, but we don't only just grow watermelons. We grow watermelon, cantaloupe, tomatoes, okra, squash, cucumbers, onions, potatoes, all the kind of peas.
I want soup all of a sudden now. I want a big old stew.
So as soon as I was able to talk and walk, I was up at our location doing math, talking to people who are 50 years older than me, educating them on what our products are and the best way to cook them. When I was 7 years old, I had to be able to describe how to cook everything we had.
Wow, that's fantastic. So was it more like book smart, or did you actually get in the kitchen? Were you cooking and doing recipes up and, you know?
My family does a Sunday family dinner every single Sunday. We do not miss one. So my grandma would cook all of that during the summer. All we eat is vegetables. I kind of get burnt on it, but it's every meal. And so when I was younger and they would ask me those questions every single Sunday, I'd be like, okay, Granny, how do I fix fried squash? How do I do this? So at a young age, I knew how to cook for myself. I knew how to do advanced multiplication, and I knew how to speak to anyone, no matter their age or any characteristic.
That is fantastic. So what is your favorite part of, I guess, farming and, you know, gardening, you know, growing that stuff? What's the part of it? Because obviously it's part of the family, so
Yes.
you're born into it. But at a certain point, you have to hold on to it because you actually love it, right?
Yes.
What is it that keeps you there?
The most rewarding part to me is being such a present member of the community. There are customers that have watched me grow up from 5 to 21. They know about my Texas Watermelon Queen. They know about college. And it's like I've joined all these families. I get to hear about their grandkids, what their kids are doing, who they're cooking for, and I just become one of their own.
Wow.
So it's just the personal connections that I get to build with such a large part of my community.
And the agricultural community is a very
Yes.
strong knit. I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, these are tough times
Yes.
with legislation and then the weather and everything else in between. We'll talk more about, I guess, that kind of stuff in a minute. I did have a question because I think it's interesting. You said your dad is 6th generation, which makes you 7th, I guess.
Yes.
I think I read somewhere that, you know, not only do farmers and even like beef raisers, cattle industry, they're experiencing all the troubles that you hear about in the news all the time. But there's another issue in that these industry have always typically been kind of family businesses, and the more modern times we approach, the future generations tend to get away from what they're doing. For instance, you know, if I'm a farmer, there's a good chance that my kids don't want to be farmers and follow in my footsteps. Have you seen that? You're a young adult. Have you seen that with your peers? And what keeps you, I guess, grounded?
Well, as Texas Watermelon Queen, I get to travel and do a bunch of different farm tours and meet these growers who are family-owned and operated farms, and that is one of their biggest struggles, is that their children do not want to join the agriculture industry or any aspect of it. But with just the way the world is going, some parents encourage it, that this was a hard life. While it was paying off and it made you feel warm inside, you got to produce to such a mass population, but with just the way the government, the weather, everything's going on, agriculture just is a very tough life to be in, and some parents want better for their kids. My dad personally, I don't want you to farm and raise all this stuff. He's like, I've been through so many hardships and I want better for you. Now, he can say that, but it doesn't mean I'll listen, because I want my kids to grow up in the same type of lifestyle I did, to know what hard work and to know what it is to be part of something where every single thing you do matters. You have to get up at 6 a.m. and go pull those watermelons or pick those cucumbers. And if you have to go out at 5 o'clock at night to turn on the irrigation, then that's what you got to do. I want my kids to know what hard work and dedication is at a young age, just like I did.
So, and that's a great subject to kind of expand on. I mean, you're young. You have a TikTok. You're a modern woman, so you know all about social media and getting out there. I mean, you're you're a queen, a pageant queen, for God's sake. So there's a certain amount of that I'm sure comes natural to you, that whole social media presence, that whole influencer thing, which is a very modern thing, which I think that a lot of the younger generation, they think they can just open up a YouTube channel or be an Insta model and then have it made. And again, you're a young woman who's doing those types of things, but also knows about getting up, at the butt crack of dawn, moving. So I saw you on video moving watermelons, with a crown on, So obviously you're no stranger to hard work. Do you think that there is a disconnect between the younger generation and hard work and rolling up your sleeves and doing stuff?
I definitely think there is, but something that happens a lot is people like to blame the children. It's not the kids' fault. Till you're about 15, you don't decide how you act, how you behave, what you do in your everyday life. Your parents do. And I was lucky enough to be raised by parents who made me do as I should, not to let me do as I please to try to be my friend. There's a certain area where parents have to step in and teach their kids how to be good people.
Absolutely. Well said. All right. Very good. We're with Olivia Johnson, Texas Watermelon Queen, all the way from Center Texas, East Texas, like far northeast Texas, right? So it's so cool to have you here. We're going to have you over at Tree City Tea and Water at about 2 o'clock. And for now, it's just great talking to you. I want to talk to you more about specifically watermelons, which is your whole big thing. So let's take a quick break, play that Tracy Bird song that we've been playing all day, and then we're going to come back and talk to you a little bit more about watermelon and how you became queen, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Again, we're live at the Briscoe-Garner Museum, and this is UvaldeRadio.net. UvaldeRadio.net, we are live at Briscoe-Garner Museum celebrating National Watermelon Day with the 2022 Texas Watermelon Queen, Olivia Johnson. One more time if you're in the room, make some noise. We got the Queen royalty. Now, wow, that's awesome. Thank you, guys. I thought, that's for you. It's not for me. So again, we're at the Briscoe-Garner Museum, which is just a lovely museum honoring John Nance Garner, former Vice President of the U.S., and former Governor Dolph Briscoe. What's been your impression of the Briscoe-Garner Museum here? Did you learn anything interesting?
I learned what his nickname was for.
Cactus Jack.
Yes, that was when I walked in. I was like, "Why is he called Cactus Jack?" Turns out he wanted the cactus flowers to be the Texas state flower, but bluebonnets won by 1 vote.
Wow, yeah, I just learned that. I think I learned that when I was a kid, and I forgot by now. Too bad his name isn't like Watermelon Jack, right?
That would be so much better.
But we should have rolled out the red carpet, but the sidewalk is very long, approaching the porch here. But again, thank you for being here, all the way from East Texas. For those who are just tuning in, where can we find you online? I know that
the Texas Watermelon Queen is on Facebook. It's Texas Watermelon Queen. On Instagram, it is Texas Watermelon_Queen. On TikTok, it is Texas Watermelon Queen. And then you can also go to texaswatermelons.org to learn more about the association and find their social media pages.
So let's talk about how you're on the road to becoming the Texas Watermelon Queen. So obviously, farmer's daughter, and you know your way around all the fruits and vegetables real well. What is it, first of all, that inspired you, I guess, to get the pageant or do it, whatever you do?
So this was actually my second pageant to ever compete in. In my hometown, we have the East Texas Watermelon Festival where they do the biggest watermelon competition, and they also have a pageant. Well, I was always a fan of the biggest watermelon competition. I have won that about 10 years in a row.
Wow.
The biggest watermelon I grew was 167 pounds. But my senior year of high school, they also had the pageant, and one of my mom's good friends was over it, and she's like, "Well, why don't you run for it? You've always done watermelon stuff. Why not?" So I was the East Texas Watermelon Queen, and then I was pursued to be the Texas Watermelon Queen by family friends who are major growers in the association. And so when it finally worked out in time for college and just life, I was like, okay, I'll run for it, and I was lucky enough to be chosen as the 2022 Texas Watermelon Queen.
So you mentioned you've already had experience as the East Texas Watermelon Queen. How many watermelon queens are there in Texas?
That is a good question, but the main thing to remember is there is one Texas Watermelon Queen who works for the Texas Watermelon Association, and that is me. But there are other small pageants, like Luling has a Watermelon Queen, East Texas used to have a watermelon queen. So there's small pageants everywhere, but those girls get to represent their town. They get their crown and their sash. The difference is I represent the entire state of Texas, and it's so much more than a crown and a sash. I'm a promotional ambassador for the Texas Watermelon Association, meaning I do school promotions where I go to read to kids, give them watermelon slices, stickers. I also do store promotions where I promote Texas watermelon in the store. Then I also do other festivals. Anything that's watermelon related, I get to go to. They ship me off, and I get to help promote Texas watermelon.
And you do a great job of it. I've seen you in action already, and you know your watermelons. You're so friendly, just very approachable. So you're obviously fit for this position. So again, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here, especially on the air with us too today. So thank you for spending some time. We're about to get schooled on watermelon, but first let's go ahead and get back to the process.
Okay.
What was that pageant like? Was there any training? Was there, give me some information about the moments leading up to what you had to do.
So the Texas Watermelon Association holds a convention every November. It varies where it's located, but when I went for Queen, it was in McAllen, which is where majority of Texas growers are. So at this pageant, they do an impromptu question. They do an interview with a panel of judges. Then you also do an evening gown competition, a promotional wear competition, and then you do a speech about anything you're passionate about. So for me, the biggest prep part of that was my speech. But I've been talking about watermelon since birth. So my speech was about my family farm, growing up in the watermelon industry, and then the panel of judges, they ask you questions. But one thing you need to keep in mind is you do not have to have an agriculture or watermelon background.
Okay.
Any girl can apply to be the Texas Watermelon Queen. You must be 18 and out of high school, but you cannot be 25 by April 1st of 2025. So once you get Queen, you get to go to Queen training. And Queen training is where all the other state queens, so with Texas Queen, there are 7 other state watermelon queens. And when you go to Queen training, they teach you everything you need to know about watermelon and everything you need to know about Queen. So if you don't have that background, the Texas Watermelon Association covers you, and it's like, this is what you need to know. And then you learn so much doing your farm tours, your promotions. You learn so much from such great people in the industry who genuinely just want to spread with you what it's like to be a watermelon grower.
So now when you're in Watermelon Queen school,
Yes.
At your desk and your pencil and paper learning about watermelon queenisms, how much of that stuff did you already know? Were you like, this is a piece of cake, I know all this stuff, it's all good. Was it gravy?
I knew most of the watermelon knowledge. Now you get to learn watermelon history, like when the first harvest was, which was in Egypt, and how they used to use watermelon as canteens. You learn a lot of fun facts, but other than that, I knew majority of the watermelon information. But what was most beneficial to me was getting to know what they expected of us as Queen, how they wanted us to act on social media, how they wanted us to do our posts, our thank you notes. They give you that, honestly, Queen 101.
Wow.
I knew the watermelon side, but the Queen part, it made me feel so much more confident to come back to Texas and do my job.
There's a certain amount of etiquette and all that, because you're a representative and you're a lady, you're royalty, so you got to act like that too. Obviously you're a natural, but I guess dig in, and I guess what was the hardest part? What's the hardest part of the job that was the most challenging? What maybe that you're still struggling with right now?
The hardest part for me is we did video training and interview training. And so for that, I'm a very open and honest person, and there are certain ways you have to word things and say things as Queen. And so that was a big part for me, was to learn what exactly needs to be said and how it needs to be said. And so I think I've done a pretty good job on that, but that was the one where I was taking notes, scribbling, word things this way, say them like this, and to try to hide my accent a little bit so you can hear the words better.
That's the most endearing part of the whole thing. It's great. It's awesome.
It fits the watermelon Queen.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's awesome. So let's go and talk about some of the exciting things you've done so far in your reign as Watermelon Queen. Any cool stories?
So my favorite thing that I get to do is going to be farm tours. On these farm tours, you get to see the whole harvesting watermelon process. So you get to see how their cutters pick which watermelons are best off the vine. Each grower loads and packs watermelons in different ways. So they may do it on a trailer, they may do it on a bus, an 18-wheeler. It varies per farmer. So you get to see what they think is the most efficient and best way to get watermelons to the stores. So that was my favorite part, because I've seen it on a small scale with my dad, where we load them in the back of the truck and take them to our stand. Now I've seen it where they have to brush and clean these melons, put their stickers, separate them by size, and just see how much more than big scale watermelon farm takes. It's good to compare both.
So, I mean, I bet that's pretty eye-opening to see again from your local, whole process to like all these other different larger ones. If somebody doesn't know anything about watermelon, what would you say is the most surprising thing, the most interesting thing that most of us don't know about watermelon farming?
About watermelon farm, I would say the most interesting thing is that watermelon, it takes 90 days to grow, and in those 90 days, it is essential to get rainfall to have a good crop. But with modern technology, they use irrigation. Irrigation saves so many crops, not only watermelons, but other vegetables and other fruits. If we did not have irrigation and the modern technology we would not be able to purchase half the stuff we do at stores.
Wow, fantastic. So you probably already know how to say this, but who makes the best watermelon? In Texas, where does it come from? Or where have you personally tasted the best watermelon? Besides your dad's.
Where have I tasted the best watermelon? I'm not going to name a farm, but watermelon tastes best to me when we're standing in the field. They pull it straight from the vine and cut that watermelon has been off the vine for 2 minutes, and I think that is when it's the sweetest and juiciest way.
Really are well. That was a nice roundabout answer. You went way to avoid the question. We're with the Texas Watermelon Olivia Johnson here all the way from East Texas, and celebrating National Watermelon Day with us here near ValleyRadio.net and some of our participating locations. Again, here at the Briscoe-Garner Museum, it's right live. Rubber's Furniture, we've got Batch Ranch Bunkhouse in downtown Valley, also Southern Lakes Marketplace, and on the east side of town, Tree City Tea and Water, which we're going to take the Queen on tour to Tree City Tea this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Meanwhile, stop by one of those locations until 2 p.m. Free watermelon. We've got some big watermelons and Rubber's Furniture, and maybe, I know it only works right now. That's some slices and drinks at other locations as well. So I guess let's talk about your education when you're in college right now. I'm sure that the Watermelon Association providing other scholarship of some sort.
Yes.
Give us your educational background.
So I graduated from Center High School, very small town. I graduated with like 120, and then I attended Texas A&M University. I'm currently a senior nutrition major there. So my first thought for work was to go to pharmacy school, but with the way that the association is, and then I go for National Queen, I may end up working in the watermelon industry one day. It would be a lot more meaningful and rewarding for me to work in the industry, just given that my dad is 6th generation, and he's one of those people who's going to stop after him, his farm ends. So I think it would mean a lot to my family and me to work in the watermelon industry.
Kind of like a legacy. And it's very cool. Well, that is fantastic. My phone is ringing. That doesn't happen on the air very often for me, but I'm usually on the air this time of day. So, again, we're here with the Texas Watermelon Queen at the Briscoe-Garner Museum. Come see her while she's here, and then at 2 o'clock she'll be at Tree City Tea and Water. As far as being a nutritionist, you mentioned earlier that you were raised on vegetables. Are you vegetarian, or what's your whole... You're a good Texan meat eater then?
Oh, yeah, Texan meat eater, all of it. I love vegetables, but it's got to be paired with some meat.
So what meat that's weird, it's a weird question. So what meat, barbecue, what's the best thing to, I guess, pair with watermelon, or what does watermelon go best after? What kind of meal, in your opinion?
I would definitely say barbecue. I feel like you can't have a backyard barbecue or a party at the lake without watermelon. It's refreshing, and if you eat barbecue, you're in a rush. It fills you up, and you just need something to dull that flavor, to add some sweetness to you. So I think, but watermelon pairs with everything. My personal favorite is just with barbecue.
Now we're on the subject of recipes and whatnot. You brought some cool little watermelon recipe cards.
Yes.
What is your favorite, I guess, watermelon dish, dessert, drink? What's the most creative thing that you really enjoy in watermelon? That's not just a plain slice.
Okay, so with watermelon, you can go to watermelon.org, and they have thousands of watermelon incorporated recipes. Anything you can think of, you can cook with watermelon. And so as Watermelon Queen, every single Wednesday, I post a Watermelon Wednesday recipe video. Out of all the ones I've made so far, I'm a Texas girl. I love lemonade. So watermelon lemonade has been my favorite so far, for sure.
Nice. And what give us a quick rundown of the recipe. How would you make that?
So first what you do is you put the watermelon in a blender to give it that puree juice. And so I do not like any seeds or chunkiness in my lemonade. So
High five. Very good.
Yes, I drain it, and then you just mix some lemon juice. I can't remember exactly how much, but lemon juice, and then lemon slices for garnish, and a little bit of ice. It's so simple, 5 minutes max, and it's delicious.
And do you have the cards for that recipe downstairs?
Yes, it is on the Watermelon
I'm going to grab one of those. Very good. Yes. All right, so again, we got the Watermelon Queen here. We're going to take her to Tree City Tea and Water here pretty soon. I guess give us some. Is there anything we haven't covered yet that you need to get out there? I mean, there's all kinds of good information about nutrition and I mean, what else is part of the platform of the Watermelon Queen?
The platform of the Watermelon Queen is to promote buying of Texas watermelon. And the reason because of this is that Texas watermelon brings $60 million back into the Texas economy. And it's not just grown in the valley. It's grown in the valley, East Texas, West Texas. Everywhere that there is good farmland, there's watermelon there. So when you buy Texas watermelon, you're helping our economy and keeping Texas a global leader. And Texas is number 4 in watermelon production, and we grew 15% of the domestic crop last year.
Now, everybody's busy. It's kind of hard when in the produce section to find out, whether something's Texas grown or not. What's the best way to find those Texas sourced watermelons?
So when you go to your local grocery store to pick up your watermelon, there's always a sticker. The sticker will say the grower, if it's a seeded or seedless, but it also will say product of Texas. So when you look for a sticker that says product of Texas. The ones that are from out of state usually say Mexico, Florida, whatever, but product of Texas, that's what you look for.
That's what the sticker is for. And real quick, while we're at it, shout out to Luke Brown Watermelons, right?
Yes.
Those guys came in and brought us 140, 50 watermelons that we've just been distributing this morning for our National Watermelon Day. And really, what's that gentleman's name? The guy that brought him out, I forget his name, but what a cool guy.
Yes, so. Luke Brown is actually the president of the Texas Watermelon Association this year. So I was actually on a farm tour with him on his farm when we got the email about coming to Uvalde, and he was like, of course. He said, I'll donate however many bins they need. So he's a great guy who just wanted to help out.
And speaking of, I saw a video of you on the Facebook page. You got your tiara on, and you're loading up watermelons like a true watermelon queen.
Full face of makeup, a dress, crown, and my sash, and I'm loading watermelons.
So what's been one of the most interesting interactions you've had? I mean, and we've talked about this earlier. I mean, I'm sure you get creepy guys every now and again, but any other crazy weird stories that's happened during your watermelon tenure?
Not crazy, but a little on the cute side. So I get to do school visits where I talk to children about watermelon. I have a whole presentation of all the watermelon knowledge they need to know. Well, after the presentation, they get to ask me questions. Two of my favorite questions is, do you live in a castle?
Nice,
and
okay.
Are you a farmer? You sound like a farmer.
That's awesome.
Yes. Kids are very honest, but they sure love watermelon and learning about it.
You have been so good with the kids and adults alike. You're definitely, like I said, you're perfect for this job. It's been an honor and pleasure meeting you. And let's give a shout out to your handler over there. Come on over here. Come on, get on there on radio. Okay, will you introduce your handler over here?
This is my coordinator, Miss Barbara Duda. She is my boss who travels with me to every event and plans my events for me.
Barbara, thank you so much for facilitating this. We're the ones that we've been talking via email, and you guys were so cool and gracious and eager to come to town and make this happen for us. So I'd like to thank you on air for that, first of all. Give me your history. Give me your history with the organization also.
I've been working with the Texas Watermelon Association for 10 or 11 years, I'm trying to think, and took it on as a job they brought to me because I knew one of the growers I was a teacher, and I knew one of the growers as a teacher. His kids were in my class, and started a couple years after I stopped teaching, and have been enjoying it ever since, and just traveling around and helping my queen do whatever needs to be done. But thank you so much for having us.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And tell me what are some of your some best memories or interesting stories you have with is she the only queen you've worked with, or have you had others in past years?
Yeah, every year we have a new Texas queen. We had one year where we did not, but we kind of came back together with it, and goodness, I don't know. I've had a lot of interesting travel stories where we get held up, and we just try to make the best of it. But with lots of traveling around because Texas is so big, but we enjoy it, and just try to make the best.
And I know she's right. I know she's right in the room, but on a scale of 1 to 10,
she's
on watermelon
10 plus.
10 plus. There you go. All right. Well, Barbara and Olivia, thank you guys so much for being here, and we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, man, and get you guys back to the crowd, the masses out there taking pictures and signing autographs. I need to get an autograph too before we leave.
I can do that.
So we'll do that. So again, give us the website addresses and any other information our listeners need.
So the Texas Watermelon Queen is on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. On Facebook, it is simply Texas Watermelon Queen. On Instagram, it is Texas Watermelon_Queen. On TikTok, it is Texas Watermelon Queen. And then you can also find the association pages just as Texas Watermelon Association, or visit their website, texaswatermelons.com.
Well, once again, the Texas Watermelon Queen, Olivia Johnson. Everybody makes noise. We're still in the room. Everybody's gone. I'm here live at the Briscoe-Garner Museum, wrapping it up here. We're going to break format and do a little bit of Harry Styles, some watermelon sugar. And this is UvaldeRadio.net. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Tastes like strawberries on a summer evening, and it sounds just like a song.